Hey everybody, my name is Della Hightower, and I promised that I would give a few tips tonight about dealing with trauma. And so this has been an ongoing topic for the last couple of weeks. We have actually been on the road today and have just made it to Jacksonville, Florida, and we're going to be spending the weekend with family and friends at Daytona Beach. But I did want to jump on here and just give a few minutes and let you all hear some of the things that I have been learning and practicing in my private practice as a licensed professional counselor in the state of Georgia. And so when I talk about trauma, there are many different things that are traumatic events that can get stuck in our body and actually change the cells and cause us to have problems for years to come. So as much as 90% or more of our illnesses have actually been linked to our emotions. And so some of this has to do with trauma. So there's big T trauma and then there's little t trauma, because we all experience traumas. Many of us have been in small car accidents and the breath, knocked out of us, and little traumas, but those things can even have profound effects on our life. And then there's the big T traumas. There are the deaths and the abuse and the unspeakable things that happen in people's lives. And, even just things that you wouldn't think unless you have been in the shoes, that things like growing up in a home with an alcoholic parent can really be a trauma that gets stuck in your body and affects you for generations to come. Not just you, but your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. And so what we want to make sure is that we are doing our very best to resolve this trauma and to move forward in our lives. And so I've talked a little bit about this in the past, but I wanted to give you a few tips and tricks today. So I'm in my niece's room here, and you can see she has her Young Living diffuser going, and laying beside it is lavender and peppermint from the premium starter kit. All I smell is the lavender. So it's a very calming, relaxing smell in here after driving for several hours. And so Erin and I are actually staying in her room tonight. Thanks, Josie. And so I'm ready to crawl in the bed and call it a night. But before I do, I want to just give you a few tips and tricks. So one of the things that is so incredibly powerful, and you knew I was going to say this, is our sense of smell. And so our sense of smell directly impacts, it crosses barriers that no other. It goes straight to the limbic system. And it doesn't go through our rational brain. So we don't have to actually rationalize it. And so talk therapy a lot of times with trauma victims, it's just not effective. So we've talked about before, when our vets come back and they've experienced traumas of war and they have PTSD, talking about it, going and seeing a therapist and doing the traditional talk therapy isn't going to make those symptoms go away. In fact, sometimes it can re-traumatize them and ingrain the pathways in their brain to where that becomes their go-to. And so we have to find other ways to access the emotional center of our brain, our limbic system. And our sense of smell is a great way to do that. And so essential oils are fantastic because they're teeny tiny little molecules and they're not synthetics. They come directly from the plants. And now remember, when I talk about essential oils, I'm only talking about Young Living because I've been to the farms. I have seen the way that things are done. I know that I can trust Young Living to only have in it what they say is in it. And when you go to health food stores and to Walmart and Bed Bath & Beyond, you don't know what you're getting. You don't know where it's coming from. You don't know what the source is. And it's a common practice to adulterate many essential oils. And so you're getting what you're paying for, junk. Okay, so when I talk about essential oils, Young Living is who I trust. And so tonight in Josie's room, having the lavender going is a very calming, peaceful smell. You've all heard the studies that have been done on lavender, and you can actually look it up and read about lavender studies. Go to Google Scholar and type in lavender and essential oils and see the different research that pops up. It's amazing, the studies that have been done. So do some research for yourself, educate yourself. Don't just take my word for it. But a couple of other things I want to talk about. So we've talked about how exercise can be very beneficial, but exercise on its own doesn't cause you to connect with your brain. And so if you can pair with your exercise an essential oil that stimulates the limbic system, and then you're doing your yoga poses, or you're putting your RC on your chest, your essential oils, and you're going for a run, or you're doing your stretches at night when you have your lavender diffusing in your room, those things connect with your limbic system and they move your body in a way that helps your body to resolve the trauma. So my friend Robin, I'm hoping that you will comment and give us one of your tips on dealing with trauma. Robin is certified as a trauma yoga instructor. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. You can correct me, Robin. But she is starting a new practice in Southern California, and we actually worked together at the psychiatric hospital and worked with veterans, and Robin is a great wealth of information. And so Robin, I'd like to know a couple of yoga poses that you could teach us and some oils that we can pair with that. One of my favorite oils to deal with trauma is called Trauma Life. And it's a blend that's been put together that specifically helps you to release the trauma that we have experienced and move forward. Another wonderful one is called Sara, S-A-R-A, and it is for the specific abuse that has gone on for years. It actually stands for sexual abuse, ritual abuse, and it is another one that is fantastic to use. And so many of you, you know my heart for foster care and for adopted children. And so using some of the Trauma Life and Peace and Calming and Sara with your kids that are in your homes or that are adopted can help them to resolve trauma that they have experienced either in the womb or through birth or in their homes that they were removed from. And so my sister Darla and I talk a lot about my niece Caroline and how there are things that we don't know what she experienced for the first 3 months of her life. And so we know she was in the NICU and she was a tiny baby, and so there are definite things that need to be worked on. And so Darla is using her essential oils and working to try to release some of the trauma that Caroline has experienced. So anyways, if you have any questions, please message me. I'd love to talk to you individually. And you know, as a therapist, I'm going to say to you that if you don't have your own therapist, then you need to get one. And in your area, I can help you find one. We can do some research online and find somebody. But that's another great way to get the help that you need to move forward in your life. Okay, I love you guys. Talk to you soon. Good night.